I'm Sabrina Zainal, and this is Nightline. The top stories. PM Anwar chairs first cabinet meeting a day after reshuffle. And COVID-19 cases rise to almost 13,000 in a week. Good morning. We begin with the story. Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim chaired the first meeting of the new cabinet on Wednesday following a major reshuffle on Tuesday. During the meeting, the Prime Minister delivered directives and briefed on the regulations as well as the direction of his leadership in the unity government. The meeting held at the Perdana Putra complex began at 9:30 a.m. It was attended by Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi as well as all the newly appointed ministers. However, Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Fadila Yusof is currently away performing Umrah. On Tuesday, Anwar announced the first cabinet reshuffle after a year of leading the unity government. Among the changes announced were the introduction of new faces as ministers and deputy ministers, as well as restructuring of several portfolios, where 2 ministries were split into 4 new ministries. This involved the Natural Resources, Environment and Climate Change Ministry being divided into the Energy Transition and Public Utilities Ministry, helmed by Fadila, and the Natural Resources and Environmental Sustainability Ministry, led by Nik Ahmad. The Communications and Digital Ministry were also split into the Communications Ministry and the Digital Ministry, led by Fahmi Fadzil and Gobind Singh Deo, respectively. The reshuffle also saw the return of former ministers, such as Datuk Sri Johari Abdul Ghani to the Plantation and Commodities Ministry, Datuk Sri Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad reassuming leadership of the Health Ministry, and the appointment of former Employees Provident Fund (EPF) Chief Executive Officer, Datuk Sri Amir Hamzah Azizan, as second Finance Minister. In other news, Anwar has reminded all cabinet members, including those newly appointed, that there is no honeymoon period and they must continue to carry out their duties to address the issues facing the people. The Prime Minister said that cabinet members and the government are also required to eradicate hardcore poverty, master key areas, drive economic growth, and ensure the prosperity of the country. In a posting on his social media account, Anwar noted that these were among the points conveyed during the first meeting of the new cabinet on Wednesday morning. The meeting also expressed appreciation to former Human Resources Minister V. Sivakumar for his contributions. Although there has been an increase in new cases, the overall COVID-19 situation in Malaysia is still under control and not a burden to the existing healthcare facilities. According to Health Director General Dr. Muhammad Radzi Abu Hassan, the majority of COVID-19 cases in the country involve mild symptoms and do not require hospital treatment. In a statement on Wednesday, Dr. Muhammad Radzi said the rate of COVID-19 patients requiring respiratory aid rose to 0.5%, and the overall fatality rate from January 25th to December 9th was 0.72%. He also said that a total of 12,757 COVID-19 cases were reported during the 49th epidemiological week between December 3rd and 9th compared to 6,796 cases in the previous week. Dr. Muhammad Radzi pointed out that the rising trend of COVID-19 cases was also reported globally, including in several neighboring countries, and in Malaysia, the rise coincides with the year-end trend seen in other countries. Newly appointed Plantation and Commodities Minister Datuk Sri Johari Abdul Ghani said he will continue to intensify efforts in building greater cooperations with his ministry and industry players in the country. This as the plantation and commodities sector plays a significant role in the economic growth of the country, contributing 5% of the nation's gross domestic product (GDP).
Kita rasa kita nak engage dengan stakeholders. Pasal kita ni jadi facilitator kepada syarikat-syarikat yang besar-besar, kecil dan sederhana untuk mereka menjalankan perniagaan mereka dan supaya bila mereka berjaya, kerajaan juga dapat untung.
Johari said this to the media after he clocked in to begin his official duties as minister in Putrajaya on Wednesday. He added that he will also look into policies that the government could formulate in helping the industry players to expand their business and subsequently stimulating the plantation and commodities sector in the country. He also praised his predecessor, Datuk Sri Fadilah Yusof, who had made and introduced several initiatives and programs to stimulate the country's plantation and commodities industry. Meanwhile, Johari told reporters that he will continue leading the task force to resolve issues related to the One Malaysia Development Berhad 1MDB scandal.
ONDB ni I think we have done the work, and that's semua sekarang ni nak monitor the progress je lah. Pasal kita akan ada arbitration dengan pihak Goldman Sachs. Kita ada dispute, pasal kita semua tahu kita ada dispute pasal dia tidak memenuhi settlement agreement yang telah ditandatangani pada tahun 2020.
It was reported last month that the government has responded to Goldman Sachs' arbitration request over a settlement agreement on the bank's role in the multi-billion 1MDB financial scandal. Johari had denounced this as the investment bank's attempt to divert attention away from its obligation to make an interim payment of $250 million to the government under the settlement agreement. In another development, the Titiwangsa MP revealed that the Prime Minister also wanted him to be involved in the efforts to accelerate and stimulate the economy of the country, including being involved in the National Economic Action Council. Now, Health Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad has expressed his determination to implement the digital health transformation agenda comprehensively. He said this to reporters after clocking in at the Health Ministry lobby on Wednesday in a symbolic gesture of starting his duty officially at the ministry. Now, Dr. Zulkifli, who arrived at the ministry at about 8:15 a.m., was greeted by his deputy, Datuk Lukanisman Awang Sauni, Health Ministry Secretary General, Datuk Sri Dr. Zaini Ujang, and Health Director General, Datuk Dr. Muhammad Radzi Abu Hassan, before attending a briefing session with the ministry's top management. The Kuala Selangor MP, who previously held the portfolio from May 21st, 2018 until February 24th, 2020, replaces Dr. Zaliha Mustafa, who has been redesignated as Minister in the Prime Minister's Department overseeing the Federal Territories. In the meantime, former Second Deputy Finance Minister Stephen Sim, who is now a full minister and helming the Human Resources Ministry, said he will focus on continuing the work of his predecessor, providing improvements to the welfare and upholding the dignity of workers in the country. He added that the ministry will also give priority to developing the skills of workers and improving productivity. The Bukit Mertajam MP, currently the youngest member of the cabinet, clocked in for official duties at the ministry at 1:15 p.m. Sim took over the ministry from V. Sivakumar, who was dropped in Tuesday's cabinet reshuffle. Malaysia supported and co-sponsored the United Nations General Assembly UNGA's draft resolution demanding an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza on Tuesday. Entitled Protection of Civilians and Upholding Legal and Humanitarian Obligations, the resolution was adopted during the resumed 10th Emergency Special Sessions of UNGA with an overwhelming 153 affirmative votes, 10 against and 23 abstentions. Wisma Putra, in a statement on Wednesday, said the resounding support for the resolution by a group of cross-regional countries reflected the unwavering commitment of the international community to find a just, lasting and peaceful settlement to the Palestine-Israel conflict. The Foreign Ministry added that through the resolution, the General Assembly expressed its grave concern over the catastrophic humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip and demanded an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. The Assembly further called for the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages, as well as ensuring unhindered humanitarian access. Malaysia also reiterated that the only durable solution to the shattering catastrophe is by granting the Palestinians their own independent and sovereign state based on the pre-1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital. Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden on Tuesday called on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government to make changes to find a long-term solution to the Israeli-Hamas conflict. Speaking at a political fundraiser, Biden warned that Israel risks losing international support over its indiscriminate bombing of civilians and its war against Hamas in the besieged Gaza Strip. He described Netanyahu's coalition as the most conservative government in Israel's history that does not want a two-state solution. However, while he reiterated that Israel could count on U.S. backing, he issued a direct warning to its government, adding that Israeli actions must be consistent with attempting to do everything possible to prevent innocent Palestinian civilians from being hurt and murdered. His remarks align with his administration's recent approach to the war, with officials urging Israel to put a premium on human life. As the Zionist regime continued their violent attacks, an overnight storm has worsened the conditions for hundreds of thousands of Palestinians who have fled their homes. Heavy rains in southern Gaza brought more despair to displaced Palestinians as the regime carried out over 250 strikes in the past 24 hours. According to Hamas officials, at least 50 Palestinians have been killed in the latest wave of airstrikes, with the health ministry also warning that its supply of vaccines for children has run out. Meanwhile, medical sources said a residential building in Khan Yunis was destroyed in an airstrike, killing a further 7 people and injuring dozens. At least 18,608 Palestinians have been killed in Zionist attacks since October 7th. Cyclone Jasper makes landfall in Australia. News from the foreign front when we return.
Tak bosan ke asyik pakai tudung yang sama je sis? Masa ni lah nak beli kolek.
We're back with more news on the foreign front. Representatives from nearly 200 countries agreed at the COP28 climate summit on Wednesday to begin reducing global consumption of fossil fuels to avert the worst of climate change, a first-of-its-kind deal signaling the eventual end of the oil age. The deal, struck in Dubai after 2 weeks of hard-fought negotiations, was meant to send a powerful signal to investors and policymakers. COP28 President Sultan Al Jaber called the deal historic, but added that its true success would be in its implementation. The deal calls for transitioning away from fossil fuels in energy systems in a just, orderly and equitable manner so as to achieve net zero by 2050. It also calls for a tripling of renewable energy capacity globally by 2030, speeding up efforts to reduce coal use and accelerating technologies such as carbon capture and storage that can clean up hard-to decarbonize industries. Tropical cyclone Jasper hit northeast Australia on Wednesday, leaving thousands of people in coastal communities without power and preparing for potentially life-threatening floods. The government meteorologist said The Category 2 storm barreled in off the Coral Sea, making landfall at around 5 p.m. local time. Damaging winds of up to 113 kilometers per hour were recorded as Jasper hit the coast, while meteorologists said pummeling rains could swamp some areas with flash flooding. Meanwhile, it was reported that about 36,000 homes and businesses in far north Queensland faced power outages after strong winds caused trees to knock out power lines. Jasper is expected to weaken as it crosses land, although authorities warn there is a moderate chance it could strengthen again next week. A Pakistani court on Wednesday indicted former Prime Minister Imran Khan on charges of leaking state secrets. The charge is related to a classified cable sent to Islamabad by Pakistan's ambassador in Washington last year, which Khan is accused of making public. He has pleaded not guilty to the charges and has previously said contents of the cable appeared in the media from other sources. It is the second time Khan has been indicted on the same charges after a superior court struck down an earlier indictment on technical grounds, saying the correct procedure had not been followed. A guilty verdict under the Official Secrets Act could bring up to 14 years in prison or even a death sentence. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida on Wednesday announced he would make changes to his cabinet as he seeks to stem the fallout from a fundraising scandal. Kishida announced that he would make the changes on Thursday, adding he would take the lead in fighting to rebuild the ways of the Liberal Democratic Party to restore trust in politics. He also indicated that Chief Cabinet Secretary Hirokazu Matsuno, who holds one of the most powerful posts in government, is among those to be removed. A total of 4 cabinet ministers and several deputy ministers are expected to go as prosecutors investigate whether some lawmakers received thousands of dollars in fundraising proceeds missing from official party accounts. Young Tigers fall in penalty shootout. Sports after this breather.
Jangan pandang ringan dan mudah. Anggap batuk awak ini serius. Woods ubat batuk dengan rasa pudina. Memberi sensasi kelegaan di kerongkong. Berkesan melegakan batuk. Woods ubat batuk yang saya percaya.
Okay, jangan kecil hati nak abang, please.
Kalau you nak I bahagia, you kena jadi milik forever.
Maya, ini bukan tempat atau masa yang sesuai. Kalau wife I tahu macam mana?
Dah tanya ni, abang ada skandal ke?
Jangan nak bandingkan you dengan dia. I love my wife.
Kalau macam tu, saya nak request something boleh? Ada drama baru lah kat Facebook. Nak download lah tu. Ingat, jangan download ataupun share laman web Cetak Rompak. Jangan. Oh, my abang pedas is back.
Nampak sangat yang awak ni merindukan abang pedas kan?
Tapi dia hot, handsome. Awak ingat saya pun suka ke? Saya tak suka ikut awak. Saya nak balik dan saya tak tahan dah dengan awak ni.
Berapa kali saya cakap dengan awak? Jangan terlalu berani dengan lelaki. Iris!
Saksikan drama adaptasi novel lakonan MK, K-Click dan Ezani Jasni setiap Isnin hingga Jumaat 7 malam di Akasia TV3.
Sports hockey, the 2023 Men's Hockey Junior World Cup. The Young Tigers played their best match to hold world number 5 Belgium 2-2, but fell short in the shootout at the National Hockey Stadium on Wednesday. The national squad came back from 2 goals down to stun Belgium, but only to lose 5-3 on a shootout. In regulation time, Belgium's Max Leuten opened the scoreline in the 28th minute before Hugo Labouchere extended their lead with a penalty corner 8 minutes later. The Young Tigers fought harder and clawed their way back into the game when Adam Ashraf scored in the 37th minute before Haris Iskandar Osman drew level with a penalty stroke in the 51st minute. With the result, Malaysia will play in the 11th or 12th bracket on Friday against New Zealand. Badminton now, the 2023 Hangzhou BWF World Tour Finals. National men's doubles pair Aaron Chia So-woo Yik fell short as they went down to Japan's Takuro Hoki Yugo Kobayashi in their opening Group A tie on Wednesday. Despite losing the first set 21-16, world number 3 Aaron Woo-yik bounced back to overcome the world number 7 Japanese pair 21-14 in the second game and force a decider. However, their hope for victory diminished as the Japanese pair stormed to a 21-18 win after a 62-minute battle. Aaron Woo-yik must now win the remaining 2 ties in order to reach the semi-finals. Meanwhile, mixed doubles pair Chen Tangji To Yi-wei also failed to lift their performance after losing 10-21, 13-21 to Feng Yan Zhe Huangdong Ping of China in Group A. The duo will next face Japanese pair Yuta Watanabe Arisa Higashino in the second round on Thursday. On to football, the 2023 FIFA Club World Cup. Karim Benzema created history by becoming the first player to score in 4 editions of the tournament as Al Ittihad booked their place in the second round with a 3-0 win over Auckland City. The hosts went ahead before the half-hour mark as Romarinho's shot from the edge of the box bounced off an opposing defender and into the net past keeper Connor Tracy. France midfielder Kante doubled the lead 5 minutes later with a superb strike from a loose ball in the box before compatriot Benzema completed the scoring frenzy in the 40th minute to set up Friday's tie with Al Ahly of Egypt. Two MACC officers and former personnel charged for robbery. Don't go away.
Lagu mana yang korang support untuk muzik-muzik 13 separuh akhir nanti?
Dominasi 12 lagu terbaik bermula dekat sini. Tapi sebelum tu, download aplikasi Tonton. Sebab kita manja.
Guys, aplikasi Tonton ni percuma je. Nanti boleh stream muzik-muzik 13 separuh akhir live sama-sama pada 15, 16 dan 17 Disember ni jam 3 petang.
Sekejap. Tapi kalau terlepas macam mana tu?
Rencana. Kalau terlepas boleh tengok banyak kali dekat aplikasi Tonton.
Apa lagi? Download aplikasi Tonton sekarang.
Menu masakan viral apa yang awak suka? Macam-macam rainbow jelly ball, satu lagi kaswi goyang. Menu masakan kampung pun sedap tau. Masak lemak siput sedut, kita ada kerabu, jantung pisang. Banyak lagi. Tapi kan, salah ke kalau isteri gaji lebih besar daripada suami? Saya rasa tak salah, tapi kena pandai uruskan. Lapas taklik, jangan ambil mudah. Salah langkah, menyesal tak sudah. Hidup rumah tangga saling lengkap melengkapi. Itulah pelengkap rusuk kiri. Semuanya di WHI dan stream HD ditonton. Wanita hari ini. Kami orang KL, okey? Kami tak jahat.
Apa yang kita dah buat dengan mereka? Sebab tengok kita pun macam nak makan, macam nak telan tu.
I rasa anak you yang culture shock. Mak memang tak suka saya berkawan dengan dia tahu. Dia kata gitu macam tu. Anak you tu lagi teruk. Dia umpamakan perigi mencari timber. Dah kantung yang budak ni. Dah kantung.
Kami Orang KL, Khamis hingga Sabtu 9 malam di Lestari TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Thanks for staying with us. 2 Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC officers and former personnel were charged in 2 separate Kuala Lumpur Sessions courts on Wednesday with robbing various items and cash totaling over 900,000 ringgit belonging to a Chinese national. Muhammad Hafiz Muhammad Radzi and Muhammad Fahmi Muhammad Noor, aged 33 and 41, pleaded not guilty after the charges were read out to them before Judge Israelizam Sanusi, while 38-year-old Azwan Asli entered the same plea before Judge Siti Aminah Ghazali. The trio were accused of committing gang robbery against businessman Kun Gao and stealing from him cash amounting to more than 952,000 ringgit, as well as 1,225 yuan, a silver-colored suitcase, and a black Louis Vuitton bag. The offence, allegedly committed at a Jalan Ampang residence at noon on December 10, 2021, was framed under the Penal Code, which provides for a maximum penalty of 20 years imprisonment and whipping if convicted. Judge Israelizam allowed bail of 12,000 ringgit with a surety each for Muhammad Hafiz and Muhammad Fahmi, while Judge Siti Aminah granted bail of 10,000 ringgit with a surety for Azwan, along with additional conditions. Both courts also fixed February 5th next year for case mention. In Selangor, several items believed to provide clues in solving the murder of autistic child Zain Ryan Abdul Matin have been obtained by the police as the probe entered its 7th day. The evidence was discovered through house-to-house searches conducted by the police forensic unit in Block R, Idaman Apartments, Damansara Damai, in Petaling Jaya on Tuesday. Selangor Police Chief Datuk Hussein Imran Khan, who confirmed the matter on Wednesday, said the police are in the process of analysing the items to determine whether they are linked to the case. However, he declined to disclose the type of items obtained by authorities during the latest inspection. He also said that there have been no positive developments in the case yet, and investigations are still ongoing. Hussein also clarified that 3 individuals who were arrested by the police at Idaman Apartments had no links to the murder investigation. The arrest was made after they were found to be positive for drugs during a mass DNA screening carried out among residents of the area on Sunday to track down the child's killer. DNA samples were collected from a total of 228 individuals during the inspection, involving home units and business premises. Earlier on Wednesday, members of the unit were also seen actively working at the site, where Zain Ryan's body was discovered. The 6-year-old was reported missing at noon last Tuesday in Damansara Damai before he was found dead the following day near a stream located about 200 meters from his residence. Aisha Aadii, a 39-year-old doctor, has overcome not 1 but 2 cancer scares. In her journey of healing, she has successfully turned these challenges into opportunities for personal growth and athletic achievement. FMT's Natasha Bust and Amira Huda delve deeper into Aisha's story.
Being diagnosed with cancer is often seen as a death knell for many people. This is because there is still no cure for the disease. When Aisha Aadii was diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 21, she was determined to fight it. She took a year off her medical studies to undergo chemotherapy and radiotherapy, and it appeared to have worked. But just as she was starting to live life to the fullest again, her cancer returned.
The second time having cancer was very tough because it was just a 5-year anniversary of overcoming first cancer. I was ready to move on, and the second cancer made everything horrible because I wasn't prepared for it.
But just like the first time, the disease could not break her spirit.
I realized that we can plan so much, but life is unpredictable.
Aisha had to undergo treatment again, and in the process gained a bit of weight. Once she recovered, she hired a personal trainer to get her back into shape. Her trainer, Ermi Zulkifli, quickly realized Aisha had something special and encouraged her to start bodybuilding and enter a local competition.
I push more harder, okay? I trained about the diet, more very strict. When come to the near competition, she changed very drastic and can see the shape become more hardness, and also can see the shape more symmetry, balance.
Aisha came in 3rd at the competition. From then on, there was no looking back.
I just recently competed at United Kingdom and won 2nd place at Naba Universe 2023.
Aisha, who is now a doctor, is at the top of her sport and has set her sights on winning next year's edition.
I'm at peace with myself knowing that I give all my best, my effort, and live as authentic as possible in this life of in the pursuit of my hobbies, my career, and my bodybuilding sports.
Natasha Bust and Amira Huda, FMT for Nightline.
As we conclude this edition of Nightline, let's take a look. As every autumn in the southern Turkish village of Tokajli, residents harvest olives and grind them to make oil using a traditional method passed on by their ancestors. With that, I'm Sabrina Zainal. Thank you for tuning in and stay safe, Malaysia.